The raster to polygon tool is used to convert a raster to a vector, in this case a polygon. What you need to do here is ensure that your input raster is of the integer type. I'd like to illustrate this here. So for example, if I have a raster that's in a float or double, we see that this won't actually work. You need to have an integer type raster. To do this, you do conversion of the raster that is in a float to an integer using the int or int tool. You can also do the conversion to an integer by doing a calculation in the raster calculator. However, this tool is already there for you. Now you simply add the raster that you would like to convert, and then you use that input in your raster to polygon conversion. To verify that you have in fact an integer raster, it's always a good idea to have a look at the properties of the raster that you have just created. You will see there that it's actually indicated as an integer raster. So simply access the properties and the raster information, which will give you this information here. Another way to check this is that an integer raster has an attribute table that you can access, whereas a float raster does not have a calculated or accessible attribute table. This is the integer raster attribute table, and if you try to access the one of the float raster, you'll see that this is not accessible. Once you have the raster in this format, you can then run the raster to polygon tool. Your input is the integer raster. You'll have to specify at which value is carried over into the polygon. Here we will pick the value or the grid code, and you give your polygon an intuitive name. The conversion will yield an output such as this, where you can see the individual pixels indicated. These are the values that have now been converted from the raster to a polygon. If you want to see the integer raster below it, you'll be able to see the individual pixel sizes that are now the source of the polygon squares that you saw earlier. And then you can see the float raster, which looks visually the same as the integer raster. However, the data storage or storage format is different. And this is how you would convert a raster to a polygon, even if the raster is not suited to that tool, by first converting the raster to an integer raster.